What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update, and we have some good news, we have some bad news, we have a lot of information for you guys about the next stimulus package coming out and the next stimulus check coming out. First, we're going to go over a new stimulus bill that was just passed in the Senate. Then we're going to go over the details of the second stimulus package and the second stimulus check, all the details we know there and the new information that has come out. And then we're going to go over some bad news that is unfortunate. So we're going to go over all that here in just a few minutes. So real quick, if you can, hit the like button for me down below. It basically tells the YouTube algorithm that you like the video, and the more people that like the video, the better the YouTube algorithm thinks my video is. So it really helps out my channel. I appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button down below. This way you won't miss out on all the details about the next stimulus check coming out. We're going to have new information coming out every single day pretty much until we actually get the checks. Okay, let's first go over the new bill that was passed in the Senate. The Senate passed a bill to prevent debt collectors from garnishing your stimulus checks. The Senate on Thursday passed bipartisan, which means support from the Democrats and the Republicans, legislation that would protect stimulus relief payments from being garnished by banks and debt collectors. The Senate passed the bill by unanimous consent. This bill would protect stimulus payments from being garnished by banks, similar to how Social Security payments are protected from garnishment. Now, this needs to pass the House of Representatives, but because it already has bipartisan support, that will pretty much be no problem at all and should be passed within the next few days and signed into law before the next stimulus check actually comes out, which is good news for a lot of people who have some debt. So we also have new information about extending the unemployment bonuses, that's $600 per week. Yesterday we talked about there was 3 different proposals on the chopping block. One was for only $100 per week or $400 per month. The other one is about $200 to $300 per week, and the third one is capping it at a 70% of the amount you made from your previous job. President Donald Trump came out and said that the extra $600 in unemployment benefits gave people a real lifeline, so we're doing it again in smaller increments. He goes on to say, now we're doing it again, and they're thinking about doing it at 70% of the amount. Now, it's unclear if they're talking about 70% of the amount you made from your previous employer or your previous job, or 70% of the amount of the $600 per week, which would be $420 per week. We will see that coming out here in the next few days. I will update you guys as soon as it comes out. So what looks like to be the leading candidate for this is somewhere around $200 to $300 per week, based on what the Republicans want. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said a new stimulus relief package being debated in the Senate would replace the $600 per week unemployment benefits with a lesser payment. The plan would replace around 70% of a worker's prior pay. That equates to an extra $188 or $300 per week, depending on certain factors. So that looks to be like the leading candidate so far for unemployment extensions. Remember, they have to still pass this with the Democrats and the House of Representatives, who is controlled by the Democrats, and there's going to be some negotiation there. The Democrats said that they're going to negotiate on 2 different fronts. The $1,200 stimulus check for Americans, they could negotiate on that and make it more, or they're going to negotiate they're going to negotiate on the unemployment benefits, that $600 per week that the Republicans are now proposing to be $200 to $300 per week. The Democrats said those are going to be the 2 main things that they negotiate on, and we're going to see that here in the next coming days. Also, we could see millions of evictions if they don't pass an extension on making it so that you can't evict people during this pandemic. The federal moratorium on evictions signed into law in March as part of the first stimulus package is set to expire Friday night at midnight, setting up a potential wave of evictions in the middle of this pandemic. President Trump acknowledged this week and that it will get worse before it gets better. It's possible that this will be extended as part of the new stimulus bill, but Congress is in negotiations and not expected to finalize this until early August. Okay, now let's get into the details of the next stimulus package that has been put together by the Senate Republicans and the Republicans. We're seeing some big disagreements between the Republicans in the Senate, and we're going to go over those details here in just a second, but let me go over the actual details of the next stimulus package first. You can read this here if you want to, but this proposal will mirror a March stimulus bill that included a one-time $1,200 stimulus check for Americans making up to $75,000 annually, according to Steve Mnuchin. There's also $105 billion for schools in this bill, which is split between kindergarten through grade 12 schools, and also college is getting about 1/3 of the money. The measure won't include a payroll tax cut, which President Donald Trump said that he would veto the bill if that wasn't included, but it seems like he's not going to do that. The president blamed the Democrat opposition for its removals, but there was concern among the Republicans too, and the Republicans, this is their bill, they're the ones that didn't include it. So what we have heard is that the wording of the stimulus check to Americans part is exactly the same wording that was in the first stimulus bill. So that would mean $1,200 per person, $2,400 for a married couple, and $500 per child. So if you have 2 children, that would be an extra $1,000. For a married couple with 2 children, that'd be $3,400. Also, this would have the income limits be at $75,000 at the starting point, going up to $99,000. So if this passes in its current form, it will not be that $40,000 income limit that we had been hearing a lot of talk about from Mitch McConnell last week. Also, the July jobs report actually had its first increase in unemployment claims per week in the last 15 weeks, because even though we're still opening, we're starting to see a lot of states close back down in certain areas or certain sectors, such as restaurants, theme parks, and stuff like that. And we actually had 1.41 million new unemployment claims just last week alone, and that's a little bit more than the week before. We've had 7.5 million new unemployment claims in the last 8 weeks alone. So this pandemic and these problems are far from being over. So this pandemic and these problems are far from being over, and the longer this goes on, the more and more stimulus packages we'll see going forward, with the possibility of even a third or fourth stimulus check being sent out to Americans. I think we're far, far from the end of this. And if this continues all the way out into the end of the year and into next year, which this virus doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon, this probably won't be the last stimulus money that we see. So just be prepared. So even though we know all these details about the next stimulus package from the Republicans, we're seeing a lot of pushback from Republicans, even in their own party. So because the Republicans can't even agree among themselves in the Senate alone, it is going to cause another delay. And the Republicans have said that they're not going to officially release the bill until next week, because they still have to iron out all these details, and then they still have to negotiate with the Democrats. One of the big hurdles is that they didn't include an extension of the unemployment benefits, and if that's not included in this bill, the Democrats are likely to not pass it, and they're going to have something in there. There was the idea of splitting the legislation into several smaller packages, but it was quickly rejected by the Democrats. I personally think it would be a good idea to split it into several different packages, say have a stimulus check, have a bill on unemployment, have a bill for the schools and the cities. The problem is I can see their point is that, you know, the Democrats and the Republicans don't want to feel like they're getting screwed by the other party. So what happens is, if, say, they pass one bill and it was mostly sided towards the Republicans, with the promise that, the next bill, say the unemployment bill, would be a little bit more favored towards the Democrats. Well, what happens is once they pass one bill and it's passed, it's into law, one side could kind of screw the other on the next bill or the next bill. And that's the problem with negotiating and having, say, 5 separate bills on these different issues. I personally think that would be good. It would pass things faster and you'd be able to iron out details of each one. But the problem is they seem to take forever to iron out these details, even within their own party, let alone with the other party also. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer slammed the Republicans and said that they were so divided, so disorganized, and so unprepared. And honestly, it looks like that's the truth. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says that a draft bill will come early next week. The big problem with this is that Congress, Senate, and the House go on recess, or basically go back to their states to work, but also take somewhat of a recess in early August. So the Senate goes back on August 10th. So they need to pass this next stimulus bill basically within the next 2 weeks. They were shooting for July 31st, but they're going to have to really get on their horse to do that. Nancy Pelosi did say that the Democrats in the House would not take their recess or delay their recess if they needed to stay longer into August to pass this next stimulus bill. So that is really good news. We're going to have lots of new information coming out for you guys, probably almost every single day, because we're getting information from President Trump, we're getting information from Republicans, we're getting information from the Democrats, we're getting information from Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. So make sure you guys are subscribed. We're going to get probably new information almost every single day. I will keep you guys updated as soon as it comes out. And this top video is my newest video about the second stimulus check, and the bottom video is my most recent video about information about reoccurring stimulus checks. And this video over here is how to start a business selling products on Amazon. I have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income by selling one product on Amazon. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.